Welcome back to another podcast episode where we help aspiring developers get jobs and junior developers grow. We are going to be giving an honest and transparent review with Scrimba. Like the rest of my episodes, I don't care to sell any program. I'm going to dig into the details. We are going to explore both the pros and the cons. So I invited three guests, three graduates that have used the program pretty extensively on to share their experiences. And like usual, we'll go ahead and start with the intros. Lewis, what program did you complete? What courses did you complete with Scrimba? And where are you at with the job search?
So I've done the front-end developer career path, the build an Instagram clone in React, and the React bootcamp. I've started and messed around with a few of the other ones, like the UI design bootcamp, but I need to get back into that. I'm working currently, so that kind of puts a hamper on being able to find things, and it's been pretty crazy at work. So I know that's just an excuse, but yeah, I'm still looking around, still filling out applications, trying to talk to people here and there when I have a chance to.
Okay. Are you working as a developer, or are you trying to find a developer job?
No, I'm trying to find a developer job.
Okay, cool. All right. So we're going to pay the bills, and I know it's hard to just come home from work and have to learn this stuff. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
How about you, Christian?
My name is Christian, and I did the front-end career path with Scrimba too, and the React bootcamp. So with applications for jobs, I'm currently I'm sending some applications, sending my resume. I'm doing my best, but yeah, what I want to do is just work as a developer. Currently, I'm working as a construction worker in New York.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks for sharing. How about you, Ridwan?
Yeah, my name is Ridwan. I did the front-end career path with Scrimba and the Boomer CSS course. With regards to job search, I'm still looking for a developer job. Currently, I'm a web designer. I build with WordPress and HTML, CSS, but I'm still applying for a major front-end developer role. So yeah.
Okay, really cool. Appreciate you sharing your current jobs. I think a lot of people like to hear, where developers came from, because a lot of us have old industries and we bring that uniqueness into the developer jobs. So, all right, let's dive into it. So we're going to talk over each other. That's completely fine. But what do you think of the program?
I was a fan of it. I've been on your podcast before for the, I'm forgetting it, the Udacity thing. So I found it as a good kind of addendum, or kind of good to use in conjunction with that. Scrimba's, it's cheaper, which is always a plus. I mean, plus for your wallet, of course. And it's kind of built out a little bit differently, where if you want to do things and kind of learn things how to do in different text editors, you kind of have to go the extra step to kind of figure a few bugs and things that you have, because sometimes they're the way that they have their UI set up, it kind of gets buggy if you need to add different depositories, not depositories. Yeah, different depositories on there and different things like that. So it gets a little buggy, but it kind of helps you by figuring it out. I worded that very strangely, but
no, that makes sense.
Pretty much the whole system of learning with Scrimba, it's from my point of view really cool, because when in learning there's this thing space repetition, so they use that a lot, because you're always trying to do whatever the teacher was trying to teach you, so you have time to write the code and you have to repeat that, so that way it sticks to you, you learn.
Yeah, I love how their interface is. When you're new, a developer, they force you to actually write the code like each lesson by each lesson. You would actually practice it. So it's not just watch the video and then click next and go. No, you actually have to type it. They give you like a space to write your code in. It's very like interactive. So like it lets you write your, and it's like the best amongst all the other boot camps I've like attended online. And yes, it is the cheapest. Is the like the cheapest for me. Like regarding what they teach you and the kind of like teachers that like come on, they are all like experts. Like they are experts like in their field, CSS experts, JavaScript experts, React experts. So like getting all this for some like cheap amounts. I think is like the best so far out there.
How much is the front end track? Is that something separate than the 30 a month or whatever?
No, it's a 30 month and that's it. That's all you pay. It is pretty good for myself. I used that $30 because like I finished it in 30 days. So I was like,
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't finish in 30 days. I think I used like 60 days. So I paid twice and then I was done. Yeah.
Gotcha. So did you guys look at Treehouse? Treehouse and Scrimba both looked kind of similar. Did you compare it to Treehouse at all?
I've never used a Treehouse.
I never used Treehouse. Like I hear about it like since I've been listening to your podcast, and with now like it's getting controversial.
Yeah, we'll save that topic for another time. Okay, so is it video based? Is that where most of the teaching happens with Scrimba, through videos?
Yeah, it's through videos, but the teacher is writing the code on their Edo, like the editor. Like they have like an interactive editor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, cause like I don't really know, but I think they created like their own system, which is called Imba. Yeah. Imba. So the thing is like it's like a editor for code, and then you have video, and the teacher who is coding, you see his code, and you can even stop and just write, just try some experiments on his code.
Okay, interesting. What do you think of the instructors?
They're really good. Yeah, I like them. Yeah, because like for me, I got into Scrimba with the course of the free one on JavaScript. Helped me like a lot because before that I was like I wasn't confident with JavaScript. At least now with the basics, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, all of their instructors are like, it sounds weird, but like are real people. They actually do this. You can follow them. They have some of them have a couple of different YouTube videos that are outside of the course, and some of them even have their YouTube videos that are part of the course. So like their YouTube is maybe a little bit less than what they have inside the actual like Scrimba courses. So it kind of looks like Scrimba went out and found people that were already kind of helping people and added a better way for them to show people how to do it as opposed to just watching a video on YouTube.
Okay. Did they encourage you to build any personal or side projects while you were going through the program or afterwards?
So there are projects we build after each course. So like after you finish the JavaScript course, you have built a game. Maybe you've built maybe like a like some search app, something. So at the end of each course, there's a like a project you have under your belt.
Yeah, but most of the time, like you're building projects with the course. Like they don't see, like, you don't go out of the Scrimba and build projects by yourself. You always follow along what they are doing. Like one of them was creating a Pac-Man game.
Yeah, love that.
So
they
go
do
ahead.
introduce you to different dependencies and different things like that, and they do encourage you to look into it a little bit more, telling you that you can use them in your own projects, things like that.
Okay.
They definitely don't put themselves out as the end all be all, like you're going to do this and then you're going to get a job. It's kind of more, I mean, it kind of probably goes a little bit more with their marketing strategy as to where like you're paying a little bit monthly and it's a little bit more of a community. So there are new things that they post. There's different, what they call scrims, which are like little different practicing things that they put up that you can follow along with. And they do have a number of like live videos that they do where they take questions and things like that.
Okay, so that's really interesting that you said that. So you mentioned, so it sounds like they're not trying to sell you, pay $30 a month, you're going to become a software engineer no matter what, right? Which is a good thing. What gives you the impression that they've kind of marketed themselves or sold themselves as something that's not the end all be all?
That there's new things. Like the courses are updated. Like I'm kind of looking back at ones that I've already like completed, and I can see that there's new sections that have been added, and like different things have been changed on the website. And on the front page, I mean, you have their top thing is what their current live stream is. Obviously, it's not live right now, but it was live at some point. So it's kind of all part of that, I guess, community thing like I was talking about earlier.
Do you feel like, let me think. Do you feel like, do I want to dive into this topic? Not yet. So a common complaint. Okay, where do I want to start? I have so much to say. With the project that you finish with in that lesson or whatever you're trying to learn, I think it's a really great strategy to reinforce what you're learning, use what you're learning in a slightly different way, in a more complicated way. It helps reinforce it, right? That's important. But a common complaint with that is a lot of that feels like they're holding your hand a bit. They're probably selecting the topic, the project. They probably have when you have projects like that and they might have like automatic grading or trying to pass fail based on like specific requirements that they set out. They might have their own system to do that, but a common complaint is, yeah, it's helping me reinforce what I'm learning, but it's not nearly as strong as like me going off on my own and building my own personal project. So do you feel like, I guess, elaborate more on this project at the end of the course? Like, how much control do they have over what you can create, and how do they like grade it, give you feedback, stuff like that?
There is no grading.
Yeah.
So that is definitely like kind of the problem with it is that, but that's also why it's cheaper than doing Udacity or something like that, is because you're not handing anything in and they're not grading it and returning it to you and telling you what you did wrong. Mm-hmm. So it's, the onus is on you to do what they're asking. Like they'll give you, and each video, like they're writing the code on the screen as they're talking, and then they'll stop and they'll give you a task to complete. And then it's up to you to complete that task and figure out how to do it. But if you don't, then you just hit play and then you watch the rest of it. So that is, yes, very much, it could be hand-holding, but it's up to you to not let them hold your hand through it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, I think it's like solely up to you. So you actually paid to come and learn. So if you finish the course and you are like given a project, you should like be able to, like, even if you like follow through, you should tell you should convince yourself you've learned something before going to the next video, or else you are just like playing yourself. Even though they've not like graded you, you should like put it upon yourself that well, I came here to learn, and I have to learn before I go to the next thing. So it's like it's 100% all on you. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds clear, right? Students need to know that. And it sounds like you're going to be a more successful developer if you do pair what you're learning with something also practical on your own. Let me ask you this. Let's think about the Pac-Man game, which sounds like a fun thing to build. I love building games. But let's say you finish that Pac-Man game. If you go off on your own, you don't review the course at all, you just look up like documentation if you need to look stuff up, could you build another game similar to Pac-Man on your own?
Yeah. With Pac-Man, it was fun, like, because like you got time to encourage yourself and like try new things, and then even like it was like how to build like a layout for the game. That was pretty interesting for me.
Okay.
I don't really think so, except for the fact that when I used Scrimba, I also did everything outside of Scrimba's UI and like their code editor. So I would boot up my own code editor and have it open to the side, and I would try out things that way. So I have my GitHub that has all of my projects from there. So in effect, I could build another one because I could use parts of what I used before. I mean, at this point, it was a while ago that I did that section, so it would take me a lot of refreshing myself because I hadn't done anything like that in a long time. But I mean, I do from Scrimba because I did it in my own code editor and everything. I do have a little bit better recollection of things because I can go back to them and look at them. If you do it just the way that it's kind of intended, then you're not going to have any of that backup, and you can't go back and review things. Or it would be very hard to go back and review things, and you wouldn't be looking at your own code. You'd be looking at the code that they put in, whether it's just spacing or whatever the hell you want to say that it's different. It would be, not just the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Like similarly, I have all the final projects on my local machine because I loved how we built each like project. So I also like code offline just to have like a full like understanding of how everything was done. So the Pac-Man game like this, I also did it off Scrimba, and then so I have the code actually on my machine and like on my GitHub as well. So it's like something I can like redo and like even like improve the UI or improve the speed or anything. Like now I have the like power and then the know how to maybe add more lives, maybe increase the like Pac-Man speed, maybe increase the like maybe difficulty level, so it's fun. Okay.
Yeah, the same. Even for me, the same, because like I wanted to feel like I was doing my project, so I work in my local computer and like just do my own code from VS Code, and just if I follow along, just do the code in my computer, and then after I have to like deploy the app, I do it like with my own file, because like they usually give you like the whole project to download and use it.
Okay. So it sounds like a big recommendation is to pair it kind of just with your own thing, even if it's just manipulating the project that you just built, that they told you to build, right? So when you dove into these projects, sometimes some of these programs that dive into teaching you frameworks and libraries and trying to put things together, they don't really spend a lot of time on fundamentals. Do you feel like you have a solid grasp on the fundamentals?
Well, for JavaScript, I felt like really good with the fundamentals, because they gave you a lot of work with JavaScript, and then the teacher Kevin Powell, he does like the HTML and CSS. So for me, it was like I felt like pretty confident with my basics. Even after Scrimba, I now feel way more confident with the fundamentals.
Okay, what about CSS?
What?
What about CSS? You mentioned JavaScript.
CSS, absolutely. Right now, I've been doing like plenty of projects by my own like challenges, and I could do a whole responsive page with CSS, because like they even have like for me, it's like the teacher Kevin Powell. He's pretty good. So all the responsiveness of CSS tricks, it's really good from the career path.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They actually
is good. He actually taught me media queries and how to make responsive web pages. So, and he taught us how to focus on mobile first before the desktop. So he actually made sure we had a solid grasp on the basics, like HTML basics, the structure, like the skeleton before you add your CSS and everything. So, and then with JavaScript, Anita was very, very good with teaching us the basics, like the basics. So from the basics, then you'd finally build your game. So the fundamentals have been very, very strong from Scrimba. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even really do the fundamentals in Scrimba because I had taken other courses, and it actually gives you the option to still get your certificate and skip over HTML and CSS basics, and even making websites interactive, as I'm looking at it right now, because I'd already had that base. So, I mean, kind of, I guess I didn't take it, but kind of to me, that kind of says that they don't, it's not really meant to give you basics. It's kind of meant to have you go beyond that. But hearing from the other guys, it sounds different.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you skipped the fundamentals, so some of these programs, Lewis, like you, we've had you on the podcast for doing a different course, and that's an advantage, giving you the option to skip over, because it's kind of a waste of your money and time to go over stuff that you've already learned from other areas. So it's good. We got both the fundamentals and kind of the extension of that. So go ahead.
I just think, just my point of view, it is not a waste of money of going to the fundamentals again, because every teacher could have another approach. So those things go stick to you again. Because for me, I started with Free Code Camp, and then I went to YouTube videos, and then I went to Scrimba, and from all of them, I went to the basics from HTML, CSS to JavaScript. And with Scrimba, I was really stick to me, because the teacher were kind of different. So yeah, from my point of view, it was really fun to start from the beginning again.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for sharing. With the projects that you end up with, the shared projects, I think everyone probably does the same projects. You come out of the program, get your certificate. Do you feel like you're competitive in the market?
Yes, I think so. Yes, what we learned in the class, it's a lot of information, and it's a lot of practicing. So I strongly think, yeah, we are like a strong like a competition, like
Okay.
amongst other people, because what you go through from each model makes you very very like practical. I like the fact that you code along, like that is how you would actually learn things like faster. Well, for me, I learn things like faster if I like code along. Like, okay, so yeah, let's do this, and do the same thing or do it like separately. So
How much time specifically did you spend each week going through Scrimba, Ridwan?
So I did it every day, Monday to Friday. So let's say like 3 hours a day, like 3 4 hours a day.
Okay, so you did it. I'm going to challenge this a bit, and I want you to really think about this. You did it for 3 hours a day for 2 months. You completed the program.
Yeah.
When other coding boot camps are 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months long, you're spending 60 hours a day, 60 hours a week. What about Scrimba allows you to compete with people like that?
I think it's the projects we build, how we build the projects, like the simplicity of how things are taught, how fun the lectures are. So like at the end of the day, you've like gotten something new, like you have like something new like in your like fingertips. Like you're like, okay, wow, like like standing out with like some new power, like yeah, I have like something. So I think that's it's like something rare you get outside. But I haven't tried the major like paid courses, but I feel at the end of the day at Scrimba you get something like really like excellent. Like well, and I think like it depends on you actually. Me, I have to take it like serious. So I had to make sure that at the end of the day, I'm getting it's something new. So
Okay.
yeah, just it's like personal, yeah.
Okay.
I
Thanks for sharing.
don't think it necessarily makes you competitive. I think it gives you a way to look at things to figure out how to become more competitive. I mean, you get a certificate that kind of, means that you completed the program, but a lot of people like that are going to listen to this podcast probably don't even know what Scrimba is, and they're learning about it for the first time. So different recruiters and things like that might not know what it is, but it is something. There is something that you have that shows that you completed a course and that you looked and tried to find answers to things. That's kind of the way that I looked at it, and that's why I think really with all of these different things, I think pairing them up with other ones is kind of the only way to make you actually get through it all and learn, unless you do a lot of work exclusively on your own. But sometimes like me personally, I don't have a lot of time to do everything on my own and search for every single answer, which is not the right thing to be saying right now when I'm looking for a job, but still, yeah, I don't think it makes you competitive, but I think it gets you to step in that direction.
Okay.
Yeah, the same, because like even like for the community, they have like a Scrimba community like channel, and they complement like whatever is fall in the course, like all the courses. They're always helping people, like they're doing like I think like study hours. So that's how they do like the plus the more than maybe other two, because like maybe you went to a 6-month bootcamp course, whatever, but sometimes the time is not the same as like you could learn something in 2 months maybe, or 6 months. For myself, I don't think time is like really important.
Okay. So, wait, elaborate on that. You don't think time is, so when you say time isn't important, you don't think the duration that you spent basically tells people how much you know? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
More like a quality over time, because like isn't like relative. Maybe if the quality of the course is like really good, I could learn really good JavaScript, HTML, and CSS and React pretty good to say that I know that. And for the other courses, it will be like 3 months, 6 months in that kind of time.
Okay. So I got 2 more questions, and then I want to try summarizing this. You guys can correct me. So, first question, who is this program for? What type of person? Feel free to think about it.
Definitely visual learners,
Okay.
because they're putting everything up there right in front of you. I mean, I really thought it was helpful for me as someone who had already done a lot of things on my own. So, I mean, maybe the other guys have different experience, but I don't think that it's necessarily for beginners. So I think it's people with a base that just kind of want a little bit more to do as they're kind of looking for either what kind of job they want or just applying to different jobs. I kind of like took this course and got more into React than I would have if I wouldn't have taken it. So I kind of think it helped me learn that I wanted to do front end, but that I really liked React. So I think that was the value in it, and I've kind of looked at other things after taking this course that are more React based.
Okay.
So I think this course is also it's for beginners. Actually, it's for beginners. When you follow the beginner course, the fundamentals, they teach you from scratch, from doc type HTML to the last. So if you don't have any idea about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, I think like Scrimba is for like someone like you.
Okay.
Like that's how I had like a prior knowledge about all of that, but I saw how they teach, and I'm like, okay, it's also for like somebody who doesn't know like anything at all. So that's how I saw it.
Okay. What do you think, Christian? Who's it for?
I think it's for beginners too. And even you heard like they have like success histories on the channel, like so people sharing the experience that they start from scratch on Scrimba. So you see like a lot of people like they just never code before, and then out of React they got a job. Out of like Scrimba they got a job, and that's amazing for me. It's like wow. But from like personally, I didn't start like a beginner because like I had my basic on free code cam and those things. So I was pretty knowledgeable on the HTML, CSS basics, and I knew React already, but I didn't feel confident enough.
Okay. So who's it not for?
People that are just going to hit play and just watch it all the way through. They're not going to get anything from it. People that are going to try and do it on it, like we were saying, like they have everything combined and you could just open up the web page and just do everything in there. But if you're going to do it like that, I don't think you're going to get anything from it. You're just going to be following along with what they say, and you're not going to take anything from it at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally, because like the fun part, like where the learning is when you're struggling with the coding challenges. So if you're just watching the videos and just going to video and video and video, you're not gonna learn. But if you are like just wanna take your time, you learn a lot.
How about you, Ridwan? Who is it not
So
for?
it's not for somebody who just wants to skim through videos and finish and then like take your like certificate and show that, oh yeah, I have something. It's not for you. It's not for people who just want to just like run through it, like make it quick. It's for people who actually want to learn, like line by line. If you actually want to understand things line by line, that's it for you, because it gives you it gives you time to pause things, think about things before you continue. So if you are someone who just wants to rush through things, it's not going to help you. Yeah.
Okay. So, what could they improve?
What could they improve?
I mean, there could be more of a focus on going over some of the text editors that you could use outside of the program. And also kind of, I can't recall anything specific, but there were times when I was having issues having something actually work live on my computer and not just on the Scrimba website. So if they kind of reviewed things like that, and we're kind of like, hey, like in order to get this dependency to work, you have to do this, or yeah, like I can't remember specifically, but there were like a little things where you couldn't just go from their like online text editor to yours and get things to work. Which I don't know, maybe that's kind of a good thing, because then I had to do a little bit more research and find things out on my own on how to get things to work.
Okay.
I don't think maybe they could work on their support. Okay, no, so when I was done, when I wanted my like certificate, it took like a longer time because they said they had some issues with like I don't know, like getting it for me, so I had to like take some days. Now, that's the only thing I experienced with them that wasn't like the like classes. But aside that, like I don't have anything on class like problems with them. Like I think it's more like administrative maybe stuff like support, yeah, kind of things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Christian?
For me, it's just mostly just box and like stuff on the page, but after that, like I think they're pretty good, because like for the price and for the level and what you get.
What if you increased the price to $100 a month? What would you say that could improve?
More courses, longer ones, and more in depth.
In depth, yeah, true.
Okay.
Yeah, because like.
Mm-hmm.
And turning things in and having it graded and returned to you in a little bit more of like a hands-on approach with their students, as opposed to just making it kind of up to you to go to the Discord and things like that. I mean, there's also quite a few different topics that they could add. Like one thing that I enjoyed doing before was messing around with Sass, and there's no like real talk of like any Sass or SCSS or anything like that in there. It's very like HTML, CSS, React, JavaScript, and like that's what they go over. I mean, there's plenty to go over within that, but if they kind of had things to either side, like a little more things with databases and stuff like that, and MySQL and stuff like that would be very, very useful. Even if it's not fully in depth, still something that comes up from time to time.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, a lot of feedback, a lot of good feedback. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try summing up some of this, and I want you to correct me at the end. Let me finish my rant. But okay, so for Scrimba, $30 a month gives me a very similar feel to Treehouse. It's funny because I loved hearing the mixed opinions about, is it beginner friendly? Is it not? Does it go over enough fundamentals? Does it not? So obviously different people have different experiences, but all three of you weren't beginners when you joined it either. So there's a little bit of a biased perspective, whatever that means, whatever that translates into. So I'd be really curious, and feel free, if you're on YouTube, feel free to comment below. If you were a beginner, let us know. Did you think it was very friendly? Did you think you were picking things up? Because fundamentals are really important. They're very, very important. And that's something a lot of these project-based programs lack, and they don't do the best job at teaching those fundamentals, and people often have to go back. So it sounds like overall, all three of you think they did a pretty good job at teaching fundamentals. You dive into different languages. They focus on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React. Don't really go into any CSS preprocessors, or at least in any depth. No SQL. It seems like it's pretty heavily focused on front end. That's where everyone got there. Do they teach any back end? Forgot to look. Okay. So it's very front end focused, which I actually love, because so many front end developers, they're like, well, I got to learn the full stack to be competitive as a front end developer. No, you don't. You absolutely do not. You could learn front end, get really good with JavaScript, get really good with React, get really good with CSS. Do you know how many front end developers are spreading their knowledge too thin, and they're learning, okay, well, I got to create like a really complex application, so I need a backend, I need routing, I need a database. And they're spending all this extra time, learning all of this. When they could, like, CSS is hard to learn. I mean, it's different. It's not the same as learning a programming language, but it's tricky. It's funky. It takes a lot of time and repetition to like really get it down. JavaScript is a really quirky language to learn. If it's your first language, it's a hard language to learn, in my opinion. And spending more time with JavaScript, with CSS, that's what's going to make you more competitive. That's what's going to make you a stronger developer. And so I love that this program just like really strongly focuses on front end, because it gives kind of a different perspective on how to become a front end developer that I think some people need to hear. And so I think that's really important. So it sounds like, Lewis, it was really interesting to hear you say, it's like, well, this program kind of got me to start liking React. Right? And it gave you a different flavor and perspective on front end. It sounds like, so to me, that tells me this program is probably engaging, because you feel like you're learning and retaining a lot of stuff. It's probably, it sounds like it could go into a little bit more depth, but for $30 a month, just focusing on front end, now I'm not so worried about the time you spent with it. It's not that bad if you're just focused on front end in that amount of time, and you're really focused on front end. It does nothing but front end. So that's pretty cool. I like that. I'm curious where they're going to end up. You said they're creating courses. All right, Scrimba is growing. They're expanding their course. It sounds like the instructors, you really like the instructors. That's important. What else? As far as the projects go, it's pretty normal for them to just kind of pair the project with the course, hold your hand a bit. It's pretty normal for that program. If they really want to be strong and competitive, it would be interesting expanding on the project work and figuring out a way to get you to, all of you said, okay, put a little extra time into your own stuff to reinforce it. Not everyone does that. Right. And so if they're not like really hardly like emphasizing that, like focusing on that, a lot of students aren't going to get what you three got out of it, right? And so I think, the best success a student can have is like pair this program, and I agree with you, Lewis, on this one, pair this program with something else. Maybe it's something that goes into more depth. Maybe you start off with fundamentals like Free Code Camp or something like that, and you jump into Scrimba. That could be a good pair, potentially. But it sounds like, it gets you maybe 60, 70% of the way there. And then you have that fundamental knowledge, because like I can tell you, just mentoring a lot of students, when you're just doing projects that reinforce the course that you just learned, you're not competitive at all. You have a good foundation that a lot of people might not have, but you're going to have to build your own projects. You're going to have to dive into depth. You're going to have to build complexity into your projects where you're like, okay, they kind of introduced us to authentication. They kind of like, we just had, we read a JSON file with a password or something like that, but you didn't really like learn how you're going to be receiving data with authentication with like, JSON web token or session based or OAuth or, like there are complexities you can dive into even further with your own projects that I think would really wrap Scrimba, this program, up nicely. And that's where I can see students really being competitive in the market without dumping $10,000, $20,000 going into debt. And you dump a lot of money into coding boot camps, right? So that's kind of how I see Scrimba, just from what I'm hearing from you. Do you disagree with anything that I said? Or does that sound fairly accurate?
That sounds fairly accurate.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to be diving... We're not going into details, but Treehouse had an interesting history recently. So I've been seriously considering looking more into Scrimba myself to be able to recommend it to people. So I'm glad we did this episode. I'm probably going to take a look at more of their courses. Maybe I'll even reach out because I'm not really recommending Treehouse anymore, but I'll look more into Scrimba. I'm kind of interested to see where they go with this program. And maybe it is a very good, cheap option for developers. So yeah, that's it. I'm glad we got to do this. So before we do end this podcast episode, what would one final piece of advice be that you would give for aspiring developers? And just generic, it doesn't even have to be related to Scrimba. Just like something you would have wanted to hear when you were starting out.
So I would say you should be like fundamentals are very, very important. You have to have a solid grasp on fundamentals before you jump into frameworks or anything, because that was something I wasn't told. Well, I was told, but I was like, oh no, I can just like jump into React. So why should I learn like JavaScript and be strong with it? But after like doing React, I'm like, okay, I don't understand what async is. I don't understand what some states are. So, like, let me go back and understand what all those things are before I jump into those things. So, like, fundamentals are like very, very. Stay in HTML, CSS, JavaScript very, very well. Like, stay there till you are good before you jump to React and like all those other things. So I'll strongly preach on like fundamentals. Yeah.
Okay, that's good advice. Yeah. And Lewis, you can't reuse what you said before.
I would just say take your time. Make sure that you're going over everything. Take your time, and something that I really haven't done is get involved in like the Discord channels and different things like that. And like, I'm not super familiar with Slack, but I mean, I'm part of different groups and I haven't used it as much, and I should have started off like immediately, even if it's just, I mean, I've done like the generic, like introducing yourself and stuff like that, but I think that's something that'll end up helping in the long run. But mainly take your time. Like, take the extra hour or whatever it is to learn how to do everything the right way and look it up yourself, as opposed to copying and pasting code and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, for me the same, because like you should take time and really understand like the languages you're learning, because like it's really easy to fall like in this sensation that you're understanding, but sometimes you're just fooling yourself, because like it's easy to fool yourself. So for me, like if you really understand like JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, that's it, the best way to do it, because like React frameworks and other things, like they go from the basics.
All good advice. I love it. Thanks for sharing. All right, that's it. That's the episode. So we'll go ahead and do our outros. So feel free to, like, if you are starting a blog, trying to get a job, anything like that, you have social media handles, feel free to share them. But Lewis, if people want to reach out to you, where could they reach you?
I mean, I've got my website up. It's lhstree.com. It's just a few projects that I have, basically a quick outline of different things that I've done. My email's the same at Gmail. And that's about it. Just still looking for a job, fitting that in with work and doing band things and all those other things.
Okay. And just to be clear, you're looking for a job, but you would take a full-time job to replace your current one?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Cool. How about you, Christian?
For me, people like I've been using LinkedIn. Anybody like want to talk to me, just any project ideas to start. I'm Christian Benitez, and yeah, and two, I'm looking for a job as a front-end developer.
Okay.
So yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Christian. How about you, Ridwan?
Yeah, so my website is ridkadri.com, ridkadri.com. It's a portfolio site where all my like socials are and all my like projects are there as well. I'm also looking for a front-end developer role. Aside that, I would like to like collaborate with anyone for open source projects as well. I feel it would also, make me learn more things and then expand my knowledge as well. So yeah, I'm open to like connecting to everybody. All my socials are on my website. So thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks for sharing, everyone. And yeah, that's the end of the episode. Let us know what you think. If you're on YouTube, leave comments. Specifically, I guess my question to you is, what's the biggest question that you still have for Scrimba that you feel like is holding you back from signing up? I'm really curious about that one. And of course, anyone that's subbing on as a YouTube member, Patreon, I really appreciate the support. So I just want to give a shout out to anyone supporting me. So thank you so much for that. And if you like this episode, be sure to like it. Helps boost it in the algorithm. And that's it. So Lewis, Christian, Ridwan, stick around for a couple minutes, but thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Again.
Thank you for having me.